Christian's going to tell us about solo mining. Does everybody know what solo mining is?
No.
No? So we'll give you a little preamble, so I'm probably going to spoil your show a little bit, but solo mining is basically kind of like when you have a miner that you put on to try and win the whole block reward. Like they're trying to solve these complex mathematical equations, and huge mining pools go in to do it, and that's why they have so much power they can win these rewards. Well, if you just take your own little miner, put it on a network, you may be lucky. And every 10 minutes, it's like putting your ticket in every 10 minutes to a lotto. And if you win, you can win 3 1/8 Bitcoin right now. So that's what solo mining is, and you can use your miners to heat your homes, to do things that you normally would use a space heater with, and just have that lottery ticket. And one day you may look at your wallet and go, holy crap, I have 3 1/2 Bitcoin. Because of course there's mining fees that you win as well because you're the solo miner. But I won't spoil all his thunder here. We'll leave all the rest for him. So that's basically what solo mining is.
Hello, my name is Christian, and I'm doing a presentation today on Bitcoin nodes and solo miners. So, introduction to Bitcoin nodes. I want to start with nodes in the conventional space. So to put it in perspective, Visa, the way they process transactions, it all throws through 4 servers that they have set up all around the world. Essentially, you can call each one of those a node. That's what processes the transactions, that's what stores transactions across the Visa network, and if one of those data centers go down, they still have 3 that could essentially continue to process Visa transactions. So basically, Bitcoin nodes are all they are is a computer that participates in the Bitcoin network. So this is pretty much the generalization of a node right here. You got a little computer. It would be like a Raspberry Pi. You would set up a hard drive on it, 2 terabytes. That should last you about 6, 7, possibly more years of Bitcoin space. And what this does is that this talks to other nodes that essentially make it near impossible to falsify any consensus rules and any transaction on the Bitcoin network. It is protected by 30,000, actually 69,000 full nodes that are operating all around the world, and their main purpose is to validate relay transactions, maintain a copy of the blockchain on each local node, and ensures the network security and integrity. So this is what keeps everybody honest. If anybody tries to falsify the network, there is a monetary fault if they don't do it correctly. If they try to perform something like a 51% attack with mining nodes, which I want to get into here, different types of nodes, so I'll get into the mining nodes last, but full nodes, these basically store the entire blockchain and validate transactions. So this is what most people refer to when talking about Bitcoin nodes. Lightweight nodes, they rely on full nodes to process transactions and verify them, basically a minimal resource way to interact with the Bitcoin network. So if you have a wallet, a software wallet on your phone, that's a mini version of, that's a lightweight node, or lightweight node in essence. Mining nodes, this is basically a full node with computational work that adds new blocks to the blockchain. So the new coins that come into circulation, that is all given to the miners basically. So additional mining hardware contributing to block creation and help secure the network. So why run a Bitcoin node? There's no monetary incentive, but network security. So help secure, decentralize the network, makes it so that you have your own individual copy of the blockchain. Nobody can tell you that it's, it's not yours. It's yours on your local copy, and yours is talking with pretty much any other node to validate and make sure that every node is following the same rules. Privacy increases personal privacy by verifying your own transactions. So if you were moving a large amount of Bitcoin and you didn't want to trust what somebody else's node might have on it, then you would most likely have your own node, and you have no concern about, are you actually using like a node that's trying to break rules, and it's not too much of a concern today, but when we do see potential attacks on Bitcoin and the integrity of Bitcoin, possibly some malicious intent to create a whole bunch of nodes and to try to fool people into bouncing transactions off of their node. Independence is a big one as well. Reduces reliance on third-party services for transaction validation. Again, just ensuring that you are using the real Bitcoin. So unlike mining, again, it doesn't provide a direct financial incentive, but it does contribute to the ecosystem stability. How they help the network, each node pretty much increases the network's resilience to attacks. Further, the more decentralization, the better. Validation, nodes independently verify transactions and blocks, which ensures the whole consensus is being met. Propagation, nodes relay transactions and blocks, which help keep the network updated. So, future outlook on Bitcoin nodes. Submitting a Bitcoin transaction uses someone else's node puts you at the mercy of their node rules. Anybody that copies the blockchain can pretty much go and do whatever they want to that individual node. But in essence, the moment you change a single line that doesn't match up with the actual Bitcoin node code, you basically just created a fork of Bitcoin. That won't get accepted by the rest of the Bitcoin nodes. It is basically a different network that is being created, even just one line being changed in there. Depending on the stability of the future, individuals may not have an option and must use a Bitcoin node if they wanted to ensure 100% that you were talking with Bitcoin and not some other fork or malicious node. So that is pretty much my node spiel. We can go into so much technical depth, but I figured I'd just keep it relatively like that. But again, it's relatively inexpensive. You're probably looking at $150 for a Raspberry Pi or a computer, $100 for a 2 terabyte hard drive, and all you need is Wi-Fi, and there you go, you got your own copy of Bitcoin. For many years, yeah, Bitcoin Core was the only wallet that people were using, and it was a node, but it also lets you transact Bitcoin. It was a wallet as well.
So help me out here. How do I go about running a node on my desktop computer?
It's not advised to run it on your computer that you're going to be using as a daily use, because every time that a block does process and get posted, your computer will glitch out for a little bit as it's writing that information on your hard drive.
Okay, so let's say that I have a designated computer to run a node. What do I download? How do I set up a node?
There's a bunch of different ways you could do it. The one that I like that makes it really simple is Umbrel. I know some people don't like Umbrel and one-click selections. Umbrel.
Umbrel, okay.
Yep. So essentially, it's like a one-click Bitcoin node. If you don't want to get too deep into creating a Bitcoin node, you just want it to be simple, and you want to connect your wallet to your own node. Umbrel is the best user-friendly way to do that. If you wanted to do it a little bit more advanced, there's a ton of other third-party softwares to download nodes. But if you wanted to do it the old-fashioned way, in my opinion, the safest way, Bitcoin Core is still a great one to run, to download and run. So you would just download Bitcoin Core. You would open it up, and the moment you open it up, it'll start downloading the entire blockchain. And depending on your computer, it may take anywhere from 6 hours to 3 months in some cases. When I first got my first Bitcoin node back in 2020, I think it took 3 weeks to propagate until I could fully I was up to date basically on the latest blocks.
And do you have to do anything then?
Nope, and then you just let it run. In that case, all you needed a monitor and a keyboard for was to do the initial setup, and then after that, you could just keep that right by your router. You don't need the monitor, you don't need the mouse anymore, and you just let it run. If you don't want to do anything with it, if you just want to provide an extra node on the network, that's all you need to do, and then you don't even need to look at it. But if you wanted to also bounce your own transactions off of it, there is a string that you would put into your wallet of choice, and it would redirect to your node and process it off of your node versus any random node.
So how many nodes do you usually need for verification? Is it usually more than one?
That's a good question. I think it's just one, and that node then broadcasts it to a bunch of other nodes, and it kind of just spider webs out until each node has that exact copy. And once it kind of is on every single node and they can agree, that's when this is a transaction that is processed. Any other questions on nodes before I get into the solo mining portion?
What's the difference between a full node and a mining node?
Essentially, a mining node is a full node, but with extra computation capabilities. So when you're mining, you're basically mining to a wallet address. And that wallet address is either going to be, it's going to have a node attached to it. So if you're going to be mining to, let's say, Blue Wallet, you're just mining to their full node, but to your wallet address. You could point it at yourself, basically, to your solo miner. And basically, you don't need to join a pool or need to do anything like that. So essentially, a mining node is the same thing as a full node with computational power, and a full node is just out there to process transactions, and it's all about convenience at the end of the day. And again, there is a little bit of work to get a Bitcoin node set up, and if your primary objective isn't to just primarily help the network, you may just want to just pay the fee to mine on CK Solo Pool. They take like a 2.5% fee if you solve a block, and you just put your Bitcoin address where you want that in. If for some crazy luck you just win that block, they take that small portion and they send you the rest of the reward at the wallet of choice. But cool. Any more questions on Bitcoin nodes before I continue?
What's the size of the blockchain? Like how much memory do you need?
I think right now we're sitting at 650 gigabytes. Somewhere around there. And it scares me a little bit because with the Taproot upgrade, we've been accelerating a little bit more with how much data gets posted on a blockchain or on a Bitcoin node. And when I first set up my Bitcoin node in 2020, the blockchain was 350 gigabytes. So from 2009 to 2020, 11 years, it went from 0 to 350 gigabytes. From 2020 to 2024, we've almost about doubled that. So if we continue to release more ways for people to keep posting data on the Bitcoin blockchain, people are going to need to upgrade their hard drives, their hardware, and that was the biggest thing with Bitcoin Cash and why there was a risk to the future potential of centralization. If you have bigger block sizes and you got more data that's kept on blockchains, let's say 100 years from now, to run a Bitcoin Cash node, it might be over 100 terabytes.
That's true.
And that's the risk about pricing the average person to store the Bitcoin node and make sure that everybody's, staying honest. So if you keep it affordable for people, under $500, that's why you have 69,000 nodes on Bitcoin, and I think Bitcoin Cash, it is still relatively low on Bitcoin Cash, I think still under a terabyte, but again, the acceleration, if that was to play out, could end poorly for the future.
So does this, like if you had it on your computer and you have, I don't know, Office or whatever on there, and it always has to update, what happens to the node if your computer goes down to update? Will it just update itself when it comes back up online?
Yeah, once it comes back up, it'll just figure out where you last left off. You made it to block here. It'll make sure that that's the thing too. The moment it comes back on, it wants to verify that all the blocks are correct, but it'll verify it a lot quicker than downloading it. So
okay.
You'll process all the blocks that you currently have downloaded much quicker. And then once you get to the end, then it'll be normal speed to capture the rest of the blocks until you are up to date again.
Got it.
Carry on.
All right. So this is going to be my next favorite part. I am a Bitcoin miner, and I do think that there is still a future for Bitcoin mining. Maybe not in the form that we know right now, but essentially, I want to get into solo mining. So solo mining involves mining independently without joining a pool. To further decentralize Bitcoin, you don't want to give your hash rate to big pools who can do whatever they want with that extra, again, computational power. Any type of miner can be a solo miner, large or small. Marathon Digital, they have huge mining farms all around the world. They're basically a solo miner. They mine to their own pool. They make sure that they're capturing the entire block reward if they win the reward, as opposed to putting all their hash rate to F2 pool. Sure, they might get a little bit more stable rewards, less up in the air, but this way they can ensure that the rules and everything that they want is being met. So a lot of people do solo mine with old hardware. The S9 back in 2020 was a very big, became a miner that was unprofitable, but with the bull run, it made it so that it was profitable. You could have purchased one of these when nobody wanted them for $50. At the peak of the last bull run, I think they were going for like $1,200. Just so when you take a look at that, that was a bigger return than what Bitcoin could have gotten you. So I plugged some numbers in here just to kind of get a feel of what solo mining would look like realistically. So over here, an S9 that mines at about 10 terahash uses 1,200 watts. If you're using it or running it 24 hours a day, and your power cost is 12 cents a kilowatt, you're essentially, your energy cost to run 10 terahash of Bitcoin computational power with an S9 becomes $1,261 a year. If you plug that into a site called solochance.com, this actually gives you it takes the current difficulty, and when you plug your hash rate into there, you can do anything. It'll give you your chance of when you're supposed to, on average, win a block. Again, at the end of the day, it's more like a lottery, it's more of a chance. So it's saying right here, about 1,265 years, as long as difficulty stays the same, you should at least win one block with a solo mining with an S10 or an S9.
Yeah. That's cool.
So I wanted to get into something called a bidaxe. Basically, a bidaxe is a compact and efficient Bitcoin mining device. It's designed for solo mining. It provides an accessible entry point for individual hobby miners and enthusiasts. Hardware and software is open source on their GitHub page, which anybody can contribute to. They have a YouTube page where they hold weekly town halls where they pretty much explain their new developments. They answer questions from the community. It's a very small community, but it's more of a guy that's donating his time to further decentralize Bitcoin and help people get into mining, and essentially he created something called a bidaxe. So what a bidaxe is it uses one of these chips that some of these larger ASICs that cost $5,000. Those $5,000 ASICs, they probably have 244 of these spread across 3 separate hash boards in a unit. So it's these big, hot, loud things. You just grab one chip off of those, you throw it onto a circuit board, get a little bit of cooling in there, a little bit of a way to view what's happening, and essentially the hash rate that you get out of one of these devices is on par of what a chip would deliver in one of those larger ASICs. So it's the exact same efficiency. And you can use newer chips. bidaxe, their latest one, uses the S21 chips. And here's a graph that kind of shows you what that looks like in terms of hash rate. So the latest one is a Bitcoin Supra.
625.
That uses this type of chip that you can purchase for probably $30 from Bitmain or a distributor. And this will get you from 625 gigahashes up to 775 gigahashes per second. So advantages of solo mining with one of these devices is that low cost of entry. So you're looking at about $200 Canadian for the highest model that they have that uses the S21 chip. Very, very easy to use, almost super user-friendly documentation that would help any individual to get this set up, really close to plug and play. You just need to connect it to Wi-Fi, and it's pretty much just put in your wallet address and it'll start doing its thing. So it's very suitable for home use. You don't get something that's massive, loud, hot. This thing outputs very little heat at 15 watts power consumption. So again, you're just using that one chip, which is super minuscule. And the neat thing that they're currently working on is a circuit board that can support 6 chips on one board. They call that like the Bitcoin hex. And then there's another one that they're working on too called the Octo, which is 8. And this will provide up to 3 terahash. So my favorite thing about this is you can use solo mining as a way to play the lottery. Instead of the conventional lottery where you just give $5 to the convenience store teller, for a 1 in 3 million chance to win whatever the prize is that they have. You could do the same thing outside of the traditional system. And instead of a monetary reward in cash, your reward is in Bitcoin, if you do happen to be that lucky one. So solo mining with a BitAxe can be seen as holding a constant lottery ticket, a chance to receive the entire block reward. You're looking at currently 3.125 Bitcoin plus the transaction fees that are associated with that. Higher chance to solve a block on days that large Bitcoin miners are required to curtail. If you know that it's hot in Texas and they're going to be shutting off a lot of the Bitcoin miners to supply power back to the grid, you probably have a 13% better chance of solving that block with all that hash rate that just went down. Again, it's going to come back up 8 hours later, but during those 8 hours, you have a slightly better chance to win that block. And I threw it again into the power consumption chart here, and I also did the solo miner. So at 15 watts, at 12 cents a kilowatt, you're looking at a $15.77 lottery ticket per year.
Nice.
And
One play every 10 minutes.
and you have one chance to win every 10 minutes.
24 hours a day.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So plugging this in again just for the chance at 750 gigahash for the S21 chip, on average, you should win a block in about 17,241 years.
Portions you can win?
You could join a pool with one of these as well, but again, the rewards is super minuscule that it makes a little bit more sense to just play around with it as a solo miner, and hopefully you do win that whole 3.125 block. Or you could create a pool with friends. You and your friends could have like 100 of these BitAxes mining to a pool, and if you do solve a block, it basically divide that by there. So 172 years if you had 100 friends that were using the exact same computational power. And if you win the block, you could just split it with your 100 friends. And what I want to talk about here is the historic event. So this was posted on the creator of BitAxe's LinkedIn page, and it reads, on July 24th, 2024, a BitAxe solo miner achieved the extraordinary feat of mining a Bitcoin block, specifically block number 853,742. This block contained 4,353 transactions and accumulated total fees of approximately 0.067 Bitcoin, equating next to nearly 4,500 USD. Combined with the block subsidy, the total block reward amounted to around 3.192 Bitcoin, or around 205,000 USD at current market values. This event was particularly significant as it demonstrated the feasibility of solo mining with a BitAxe miner, a device with a relatively low hash rate of about 500 gigahashes per second. The probability of finding a block with such a hash rate is incredibly slim, akin to winning a lottery. However, this success story emphasizes that even small-scale individual miners can contribute to Bitcoin's network's security and decentralization. A little thought experiment that I want to get into. At current difficulty levels, let's say, and this is at current difficulty levels, it will be more in the future, but let's say the BitAxe does interest people a little bit more. They do want to put $200 into getting one of these set up in their house and just letting it run. If 3 million individuals run one BitAxe, one of those 3 million people will hit a block around once every 2 days.
Wow.
So I basically just multiplied 3 million by the 750 gigahash that the S21 chip currently gives. So by plugging that all in, you're literally stealing a block once every 2 days from these bigger, large industrial miners that are just trying to earn the Bitcoin to resell it. If you can take those away from them and bring it back to individuals solving blocks, that is just that much better for Bitcoin, in my opinion.
It is.
Kidding.
So my final thoughts here, Bitcoin nodes are essential for network security and decentralization. While it's not a necessity today, it may become a necessity in the future. Humans are gamblers by nature. Solo mining Bitcoin will get just as big as a traditional lottery, given enough time, in my opinion. If enough individuals participate in solo mining, we can prevent a fraction of newly mined Bitcoin going to large miners, which further decentralizes the network. And thank you for
Awesome.
letting me present here
Great
today.
job.
I hope you learned something.
Can I take a picture of these
Definitely.
URLs?
Definitely.
Okay.
So
Getting your camera out.
yeah, these are pretty cool websites, and so that was the solo chance. So you can put in, if you're currently mining, and let's say you have a 100 terahash unit, you can go to solochance.com and see what it would look like to win a block if you put your miner on a solo mining pool, or to solo mine for yourself. Your own pool.
Almost solo.
And the decentral.tech, that's a great place to purchase the BitAxe. They're a company based in Quebec who is all about empowering people to learn more about small electronics and Bitcoin mining.
Which one is that, the decentral?
The decentral.tech, yeah. So this is where you can purchase the BitAxe.
That's a Canadian company.
And that's a Canadian company. So it's all in Canadian dollars, all Quebec. Yep,
Nice.
you don't have import fees. There's no local retailers that I know of. But the biggest thing as well with Decentral is that I think 5% of the net goes towards development on Bitcoin. So again, this guy that comes out with all this, he's super community driven. He releases everything all public, open source. He gives everybody the knowledge that they can build their own BitAxe if they want, and which I did. I went on their GitHub page. The GitHub page down here gives you all the information you need. They even give you recommendations of where to print your PCBs to create your own BitAxe if you wanted. They give you the files for the PCBs as well, so you can even edit like BitAxe and put your own logo if you wanted. So everything is just all open source. And again, he's doing great things. So.
There are many other people making solo mining aside from Bitcoin.
There's lots, yeah. There's that nerd miner that I had a picture of over here. Sorry if somebody's taking pictures of that. So NerdAxe. So Nerd Miner used a lot of BitAxe's code and vice versa, and they're basically working together to come up with a circuit board where literally you can just take any ASIC chip, the latest ASIC chip that just came out off of any hash board, plug it into a circuit board, and you start to grab the computational power just of that one chip.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Christian. Fantastic job. We got some Bitcoin socks for you. So your next event, you can be in style, and it's not a branded one, but it's a pretty nice one. It's the evolution of money, right? So,
Thank you very much.
I mean, it's not a CryptoNutz one. It's a brand new shirt. Yeah. No, it wasn't used. I just meant it's not a brand new design, but it's definitely a brand new shirt.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Christian. Gotta have that part for sure, right? But fantastic job. I think
very
that'll
much.
help you get even better at your next one, eh? But you did a fantastic job, man.
I had fun.
And I think everybody sort of got them thinking, like, maybe, hey, I could get one of those things.
Well, yeah, the silence after the solo mining part, it's definitely a lot of
click,
wheels
looking at your
turning.
links, it's, yeah.
Definitely.